Okay. All right. So real quick here, I got about a little bit less than a half hour to do this here. I want to show you guys how to do a transfer, and also to do a drawing, a sort of value sketch um, of a geometric form. So I have this that I just simply download from the internet, probably Pinterest or something like that, which isn't Pinterest amazing? So we're going to recreate this, and I know that sometimes we have trouble in our studies um, to learn how to draw, and that's something that you should not give up. However, I'm going to show you a little dirty secret on how to just kind of get this going right away. Personally, I don't use this practice much, but um, it's going to be great so that we can just get straight to learning our values. Without any further ado, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to transfer this, show you very quickly how to transfer it onto a pretty decent paper. I'm going to be using wow, it's pretty faded, Extra 555. There's a General's layout pencil. But you honestly could use anything. And here's one that has some writing on it. Oh no, that's a General's carbon. No, I'm not using that. I use the layout pencil. Um, so let me show you how to do this pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna just take this printout, a regular old printout from a printer. Okay, in fact, it's pretty pixelated. It's hard to see, but it's pretty pixelated. Not the best quality, and it's totally fine for what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take this and we'll just flip it over, and you can kind of see still the shape of what this is going to be. What I'm going to transfer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to trace that shape. Again, I'm not after any perfection here. Uh, I just want to get it onto my paper so that I could go and concentrate on my value scale um, for this. So you see that, and then very simply, I'm just going to start filling this in. This is why I'm using this kind of pencil, because it's really, really soft. And again, you could use different kinds uh, of material so long as it transfers over, like charcoal. It would be great for this. Even softer pencil than this. This is pretty soft, but you can go even softer than that. And I'm just gonna fill this in, right? Pretty simple there. And now I'm going to switch my pencil. You don't have to, per se. You don't have to. You could continue using this one. But I'm going to go ahead and get something a little thinner. In this case, it's a mechanical pencil. But again, trust me, folks, you don't have to do this. So now that I have that full, right, I'm going to flip it back over. And I'm going to place it on my good paper. Good paper. And I'm also going to put a couple pieces of tape right on there so that, wow, I am a complete mess. Make sure to edit this. Uh, mm, if I can move the camera, you'll see what I mean. How I have everything all over the place. I have several. Oh, here it is. There's my tape. All right, take some tape. I personally like to take a piece of tape, and I always like to just fold a little tiny piece so that I don't have to scrounge around and look for where I can pull it off. So I'm going to put it right up there and do the same thing. Right? Just fold it a little bit. It doesn't have to be super neat. It doesn't have to be perfect. None of this is, as you could tell already, I got stuff all over the place. I'm pretty messy in my studio and in my desk here. All right, so that's down so that it doesn't move around on me. And I'm simply going to take the pencil and I'm just going to trace. So there's no need for me to really uh, draw perfectly. I'm just going to trace what I have here. I'm pressing fairly firmly, fairly firm. Okay? And where things are going to be soft, I'm probably going to just do a little tiny movements like that. But you don't have to. You could just make straight lines. Right? So this will remind me that that's going to be a soft line, and this is going to be a pretty strong line. So again, I just press pretty firmly right there, right there. And what with all my talking, I could have done this a little bit faster, but it's not that painful to do this. I also noticed that this area is dark and it slowly gradates into lighter, 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 lighter. So just for fun, I'm just going to do a couple little marks there, and this is dark up there. Okay, so uh, also I'm going to press on the edge here, okay, just so I have that bounding box. I think it's a little bit neater. Makes it so you can read this a little bit easier here. And then, look at that. Totally not perfect, right? Now I just go ahead and lift this paper, and if I did this right, there it is, transferred over. I'm missing this here, but I don't really care because this is going to be pretty much in the darks, but just for fun, I'll do that. Now I could just rip the paper off and use this. I'm going to use this as what I'm reading so that I could create my values. Now, that concludes the idea of transferring from here to here. Now I want to talk to you about my values. How I put my values down. Now, there's many ways to do this. Um, Many ways to do this, but what I like to do is I like to sneak up to my values. In other words, I know that this is going to be my darkest one. So the one of the main things I'm going to do is avoid at all costs the burnishing of the paper. And what does that burnishing mean? It means if I go and I press really, really, really hard on here, it's gonna really, if you think of the paper, you think of it as a sort of a lawn, and if you press on it, you're kind of just ruining all the grass field, and you're just it's going to be kind of useless, and we don't want to do that. So what I do is right away, in a very, very loose manner, I'm holding the pencil way back here. I start to just go ahead and kind of do kind of a scribble action here, right? Scribble action, and I'm very aware of making sure that I'm trying to go in every direction that I can. I don't want to favor any one direction, only because my goal when it comes to this particular drawing is that I don't want it to look like it has these marks that are from a right-handed person or left-handed person. I want it just to appear pretty close to what this is, okay? And I just know this whole area is pretty dark. Now, also notice that I'm kind of going, if this was a coloring book, I'm definitely coloring out of the lines. And I'm going to expand this entire movement all over the place, right? And fairly quickly, you'll start to see that the values start to build up. Respecting the integrity of the paper, and that I don't want to press hard anywhere. And again, that's one of the problems we have as beginners is that uh, we want to just go ahead and get the work done, or we try to copy what we see. Now, this doesn't look like that. So I'm starting from a different layer, and I'm slowly going to get to that, right? So that is that's a concept that's pretty difficult for sure for the new person, because the new person reads whatever they're going to draw, the artwork. Let's say we're going to draw this cube here. Uh, the new person sees this and they're like, well, that's dark and that's gray. So let me just put it dark and put it gray. And is that possible to do with an experience? Yeah, of course it is. But I want to show you a sort of a forgiving way. This is a very forgiving way to create a value scale, a value drawing here. And forgiving in that, I just go in many different directions. In essence, it's like I'm already making a million mistakes, right? So um, since I'm going all these different directions, well, just take advantage of all that. You know, I don't have to be really neat, and I'm not being neat at all. And I'm also reading what is my darkest and what is my lightest. So I'm noticing that this area here, right, this area here and this area over here are close to the same value. So I know that I'll just hang out here for a little bit longer. But again, notice that I don't really hang out here until I'm finished and then go to the next spot. I'm kind of working the entire drawing all at the same time, because one of the things that I also notice is that there's no real light. And we might say that this area right here is kind of light, this area right here, right? But it is, compare that to the white of the paper, right? It's not the same. So this is definitely going to get pencil work as well. So just, I mean, it's a forgiving method, I would say, um, to do this. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake, big deal. Right? You just do another one, right? Now, as I was saying before, the magic of television when you're baking something, um, I'm just going to keep doing this, right? Keep doing this until it is as close as possible to that. Now, notice I use the words as close as possible because the material, when it comes to graphite, with this particular kind of graphite, there's some graphite that has some cool stuff in it that will make it less shiny. But as I get darker with this, believe it or not, it's going to start catching more and more light, and it's going to get kind of light. So I'm never going to get as dark as this or this, but I can get really close. And in many ways, values are just, it's relative. So I'm going to do this, and like I said, I'm just going to spend more and more time in certain areas, and I'm holding the pencil pretty loosely. Um, I'm constantly darting my eyes from here to here, from here to here. Again, I'll tell you some of the things that I've noticed in my, this is what, 16 years of teaching. What I notice is that a lot of beginners will glance here and then pretty much forget it and then draw this as if from memory, which is not what you want to do. If anything, you want to reverse what's happening there, and that I'm spending more time looking here, this one here, than I am at my drawing. My drawing is there to let me know if I'm going in the right direction. Am I getting to that direction? Am I getting darker or lighter if I have to? Right. So I do this. Right. And again, I'm spending more and more time in certain areas because I know it's darker in this area right here, right? I'm looking here, so I'm just going to spend more time. And again, this particular method is so much more forgiving, so much more forgiving than doing it in such a way where you just go straight into the darks. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say if I did it over here, if I had this, I was going to do this drawing here, do a quick version of what I'm talking about. Now, it's not wrong per se, but you want to have a lot more kind of confidence in this method, where this is what I'm talking about, right? So I could do this, of course, and it's much faster. But you want to, if you're new to values, you really want to just kind of take your time in, like I'd like to say, creep up toward the values that are correct. Creep up towards them. Don't just assume that they're right. Now, again, this is totally valid. This way of doing it, totally valid, totally fine, depending on what you're after. But like I said, this is just a method in which it's geared towards more like the beginner, or not. You don't even have to be a beginner to do this, right? I remember watching some cool instructional videos, and there's so many awesome ones out there. But there's a gentleman that he would say, don't be fastidious about this stuff. Like, these aren't rules; these are just tools. And goodness, I'm blanking on his name. Awesome guy. I know he taught animators. Vilpul, Glenn Vilpul. That's it. These aren't rules; they're just tools. Right? So this is just one way of doing it. But it might be towards your sensibility. Maybe this is a way where you can get to really see the work start to come together. Now, keep going back to alluding to this idea of like a television, baking a cake, right? I'm showing you how to do this, and it could take a while. It could take a while. I mean, and this is fairly quick in some ways if you know what you're doing, right? But again, notice that I'm moving all over the place, and I'm looking here constantly. I'm noticing that this area here is a little darker, right? This area is darker, right? So I'm going to spend more and more time there. Now, here's the magic of television, right? I did one already, which I could still finish up. And here we go. So if I continue to do this, what I'm doing here, it's eventually going to look like this. Okay. And as you can tell, notice one, there's a little bit of a glare happening from the lights in the room. But even with that, you notice that it's not going to get very, very, very dark with the graphite. But I could keep going. See, I could keep going. And I'm still doing the same exact method, right? But I'm just a little bit further along here, just for the sake of uh, tell you how to do this, right? Um, remember I was doing the little soft edge here, right? So there's that soft edge. So I'm doing the same method. The only thing is, I would say that my scribbling is getting smaller, right? So before I was all over the place, right? The pencil was just kind of going back and forth all over the place. But here, I'm kind of going smaller, and I am, when it comes to the dark, I am starting to press a little tiny bit more, a little tiny bit more, okay? Yeah. And there's a lot of glare here, so I wanted to see if I can lift this up so you can see that it's slightly darker than we had. There it is. There it is, right? All right, and don't want any scratchy marks, right? And scratchy marks usually comes because you keep doing the same movement over and over again. And I keep doing the same movement over and over again, but I just keep moving it around. I'm doing circles, I'm doing straight lines. I'm going left, I'm going right, I'm going up, I'm going down, right? I'm a bad Katy Perry song, whatever that song that was. What was that song? When you sit, when you stand, and I don't know. All right, so, and I would say this is pretty close to finished, right? This is a lighter, right? But I can still move some graphite in there. And then I go ahead here. If I want to, look, I'm holding the pencil closer now because it gives me a little bit more control and I'm doing smaller movements, so it's good for that. Whereas here, we can't do that, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I gotta be careful not to smear on this. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. I could put a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper over this, like this, and I could uh, simply start pressing a little harder because that's exactly what I want to do in smaller movements like that, right? Or I could just be a little bit careful or kind of create a bridge, right? Here's my pinky is all the way over here, and then I could kind of do that, right? Personally, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to put the paper there, and all I'm doing is reading this compared to that. That's all I'm doing. Right? So I can go a little darker, a little bit darker. And that is the way that we can arrive at that. We got about 21-minute video-ish here. Tons of editing. I'm going to have to. Now, what it also does when you do that, notice that it actually starts to get lighter. This gets lighter. I remember when I first did this, is just a couple days ago when I did this one drawing. I remember thinking, well, the logic of light um, in that, yes, I know that this is light, that's light, But I also know that the distance from the light bulb, right, that this hits first than this. Now, what's probably happening is that this box might be a little bit of off, a different color than the table, but I want to make it so that, let's say they were made the same color as the table, I would say and think logically that there's more light here than there is here. So I'm kind of playing with that idea, and I'm not making it as dark as we see here because I could go darker, but I don't want to. That's my prerogative as an artist, right? I mean, you can do the same. Well, you can do the same, but I would say unless you're learning a specific thing, and in this case, we are kind of doing that, right? All right. So I hope you enjoyed that uh, really simple uh, way of doing it, right? So remember to take a printout, right? Cover it in the back, super messy, totally fine. Put it over, put some tape, right? Put some tape on this so it doesn't move on you. You trace it. I used a sharper pencil this time, but you don't have to. You can use the same pencil you're going to use. And then go ahead and use that as your value. Uh, Notice that. Just keep picking at it, picking at it, picking at it. That's totally normal and fun. I like doing this. You know? Sometimes you can overwork something, and so what? Then I'll do something else. Okay. What else can I tell you? Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. I am definitely full of information that I'd like to give you. There's no point of me hogging up all this information, okay? So thank you, and we will to the next one, okay? Bye-bye.